Today for the hat, we're going to use yellow ochre. This is yellow ochre, ultramarine violet, and Naples yellow. My hat, or the hat, darker. I am going to use yellow ochre and ultramarine violet. That will darken my yellow ochre. And I'm going to paint the hat all over with this color, because this color will cover the underpainting, and I can shape the hat before I start adding my highlights. Okay, now let's clean my brush. Now I know that the light is coming from the left side, from this side. So, and this part here is dark in the shadow right here, and this is highlighted. So I did print the reference in black and white, so I can see where the light is and the dark, my values here. And I can see that the light is coming kind of half of the head on from the left hand side, and the other half is in dark. So now I'm going to take Naples yellow and yellow ochre, and then just highlight where I see the light in there. So that should be strong here in this area, darker a bit top. Again, let's highlight this part. Soften a bit the transition from dark to light in here. This hat could be any color. Doesn't have to be this color specifically. Now this is with the hat, the top of the hat rounded. If I want to make it look like it's it has kind of a seam here and change the shape, I can take my ultramarine violet, mix it with a bit of yellow ochre, come here and create a dent. Highlight with just Naples yellow this part slowly. I'm using a round brush, and highlight here more. A little bit more highlights with yellow, with Naples yellow only. I will be adding a band right here later on. I'm not sure what color yet. I'm waiting to do the wrap and see what colors I have in there. And that created a dent in that hat. Now, we'll move on to the wrap. This is enough for the hat. We'll move on to the wrap. Now for the wrap, it should look like this before we start adding more highlights and pattern and color. So this is the easy way. We deal with the folds first, and then we add texture, color, and pattern. For this, I'm using today titanium buff. It's golden titanium buff, titanium white, any titanium white, but good quality, artist quality, and raw umber. And the raw umber I'm using is Liquitex. So the first thing I'm going to do, by the way, this technique comes, this kind of technique comes from a technique called grisaille. Grisaille is a French word, and it comes from gris, meaning gray in French. So it was used by the old masters dealing with folds, that they would do mix black and white and then do all the folds and then add texture and color and pattern. So I'm going to start working with this, and I'm going to start with I have a round brush. It's number 1, but this is like a big one, number 1. It's not a small one. Okay. I'm going to take titanium buff and add raw umber in it. So what I want is a medium tone, and not too light, not too dark, so I can gauge my colors after my values and, add darks or lights or whatever I need to add there. And dealing with 2 colors like this, even if I don't have enough in here, that's okay. Because it's only two colors, I can match these colors later on. So, and acrylic dries darker, so I'm always keeping in mind that whatever I see here, it's going to be darker. I'm going to start from top. I'm going to take at this point more raw umber because it's wet. I'm going to put some, because my paint is wet, so I can create shadows and folds, soft shadow and folds. And I can just kind of add my darks, just picking up just raw umber with the tip of my brush. Go back to my medium tone color, paint. Painting light and dark and folds in acrylics, the best way to do that is to work from wet on wet. This part is darker because it's in the shadow area. This part right there. So I am adding a little bit more of the raw umber. All right, now I'm going to take titanium buff and I'm going to come here, create a fold that way, clean my brush, pick raw umber only, and just kind of try to blend. Even if it doesn't happen the first time, that's okay. It's as long as I'm working with wet on wet. My two colors should be wet. Spreading more paint. I'm going to go a bit dark here, using raw umber. Working wet on wet will allow me to, gives me the freedom to blend my color easily. Go down. So I have this transition between light and dark that is soft. It's not a harsh line. And that's what makes a fold look like a fold. The transition between the shadow and the highlight is soft. It's a soft transition. So you have highlights, you have a light area, you have a mid-tone, and then you have the dark. Trying to keep this area dark because that's the darkest part in here. And keeping in mind that it's acrylics, it's going to dry darker. But still, I will adjust all of these values later on. I'm really trying to cover right now the underpainting color. This needs a bit of adjustment. I made a mistake with the fold. Okay, so I'm adjusting it right now. A little bit of highlight. And shadows right here. Next week, I will be adding more highlights for the folds where there are strong highlights. This is just an idea how we do with two colors only, folds, just two colors. Next week, I'll be adding more highlights in certain areas. Make sure all of the areas that need to be highlighted is done, and then we'll move on to the pattern and color. For today, the end result should be something like this. That's what we're getting right now. And next week, we'll get better kind of highlights, and this will be much easier to put all of those patterns and highlights next week if we have something to work with, some kind of a folds pattern that we're working with. I did not use the white this time, so now I'm using it a bit. Also, the way the pattern or the folds are is very important. The way they turn, they intersect, it makes a big difference. To the shape of the wrap. I'm simplifying all this. This is simplified. Could be a bit more detailed, but I think that's enough. I don't like this. I'm going to remove it. It's a bit too much. Okay, let's let it dry. And that's it. So the end result should be something like this, or like this. Both of them are fine. Both of them can be used. For a folds. Okay.